Imagine a life where no one can push your buttons, where insults slide off you like water off a duck's back, where criticism, gossip, and disrespect bounce off your mind without leaving a mark. What if I told you that the key to this isn't changing anyone else? It's mastering yourself. Today, I'm going to show you how to take back control of your emotions, how to stay calm when chaos surrounds you, and how to become untouchable in a world that constantly tries to disturb your peace. By the end of this talk, anger, frustration, and irritation will no longer have a place in your life. Mastering your inner dialogue is the cornerstone of never allowing anyone to make you angry or bothered. The mind is a battlefield, and most people walk through life with their thoughts in chaos, allowing every passing word, every glance, every minor inconvenience to dictate their mood, their energy, their reactions. But when you take control of your inner dialogue, you gain control over your entire emotional landscape. It starts with awareness. You have to become conscious of the thoughts that run automatically through your mind. Most people live on autopilot. They react before they even realize what they are reacting to. The first step is to pause and observe your thoughts without judgment. Notice the patterns, the triggers, and the automatic responses that arise whenever someone irritates you or says something that normally would provoke you. This self-awareness is the foundation. Once you can see your thoughts as separate from yourself, you can begin to shape them intentionally. Next comes the practice of reframing. Thoughts are not facts. A single comment or action can be interpreted in countless ways. If someone criticizes you, your first instinct may be to take it personally, to feel attacked or belittled. But the moment you step back and reframe, you understand that the criticism may reflect their issues, their stress, their ignorance, or even their own insecurities. Reframing transforms a potential emotional trigger into an observation, a neutral fact. You start saying to yourself, "This is about them, not me," or "Their opinion does not define me." And the more you practice this, the more automatic it becomes. Another essential part of mastering your inner dialogue is affirmations. Not the fluffy kind you see on social media, but real, deliberate statements you repeat to yourself until they shape your subconscious. When you are confronted with frustration, you might say, "I choose calm," or "I am in control of my mind, not this situation." These affirmations act as mental anchors, pulling you back to stability when external events attempt to destabilize you. They are not a magic wand, but they are consistent reminders that your emotions are your responsibility, and nobody else has the power to take them from you unless you allow it. Visualization also plays a powerful role in shaping your inner dialogue. Spend time each day imagining yourself in situations where people might normally provoke you. See yourself responding with calm, with clarity, with an unwavering presence. Feel the control in your body, the steadiness in your voice, the clarity in your mind. By visualizing this over and over, you train your brain to behave in alignment with these images. When the real life situations occur, your mind already knows the path of calm, so the old reactive patterns are bypassed almost automatically. Silencing the inner critic is another critical step. The inner critic is that voice in your head that tells you someone has disrespected you, that you need to retaliate, that you need to prove yourself. This voice often escalates small annoyances into full-blown emotional reactions. To master your inner dialogue, you must recognize this voice and consciously choose not to feed it. Instead, respond with logic, detachment, or even humor. Ask yourself, will this matter tomorrow, next week, or next year? Most of the time, the answer is no, and realizing that diminishes the power of the trigger. Practicing mindfulness is inseparable from mastering your inner dialogue. Mindfulness teaches you to remain present, to observe your thoughts without becoming entangled in them. When someone provokes you, your first instinct might be to relive past grievances, to anticipate future conflicts, or to create stories in your head about their intentions. Mindfulness interrupts that cycle. You observe the thought, acknowledge it, and let it pass without allowing it to dictate your behavior. This creates a mental space between stimulus and response, a space where control resides. Language matters profoundly in shaping your internal dialogue. The words you use in your mind form the framework for your emotional reactions. Avoid judgmental, absolute, or victimizing language. Replace, "they are trying to make me angry," with, "they said something I don't agree with, and I choose how to respond." Replace, "I can't handle this," with, "I can manage my response and maintain my calm." Every time you adjust the language in your mind, you reinforce your authority over your own emotional state. Another powerful tool is gratitude. Gratitude might seem unrelated to controlling anger or irritation, but it rewires your brain to focus on what is positive rather than negative. When someone does something that might normally trigger you, instead of dwelling on the perceived slight, train your mind to find something to appreciate. Maybe the lesson it teaches, the patience it strengthens, or the insight it provides into human behavior. This habit gradually shifts your inner dialogue from reactive and negative to calm and empowering. Boundaries also reinforce the mastery of inner dialogue. Part of the internal conversation involves reminding yourself of your personal limits. When someone crosses a line, instead of automatically reacting with anger or frustration, your inner dialogue can calmly affirm, "I recognize my boundaries, and I will maintain them with clarity and dignity." This mindset not only preserves your peace, but also communicates strength without aggression. Consistent reflection solidifies the control of your inner dialogue. At the end of each day, review moments where you felt triggered. Examine your internal conversation. Were your thoughts constructive or reactive? Did you allow yourself to be manipulated by someone else's words or actions? Through reflection, you gain insight into patterns that need adjustment. Over time, this process rewires your default reactions, making calmness your natural state rather than a forced effort. Finally, understand that mastering your inner dialogue is not about suppressing emotions. It is about choosing your response, about deciding which thoughts deserve attention and which deserve dismissal. Anger, irritation, and frustration will arise. They are human. But you no longer let them hijack your mind. You observe them, assess them, and respond in a way that aligns with your ultimate goal: unshakable calm and freedom from external manipulation. Detach from others' opinions. This is one of the most powerful and overlooked skills in life, yet it is the one that separates those who are easily angered, frustrated, or bothered by others from those who walk through the world untouched by criticism, judgment, or unsolicited advice. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to care deeply about what others think. Family, teachers, peers, society. They all teach us, intentionally or not, that our value is tied to approval, acceptance, or validation from others. And because of this, the average person carries a silent chain. Every word, glance, or action from someone else has the potential to affect their mood, self-worth, and energy. Breaking free from this dependence on others' opinions is the cornerstone of emotional independence and invulnerability. Detaching from opinions begins with understanding a fundamental truth: other people's thoughts about you are not facts. They are reflections of their own beliefs, experiences, biases, and moods. Someone might criticize you harshly, but that criticism says more about them, their insecurities, their values, or their expectations, than it does about you. When you truly grasp this, you stop taking things personally. You start to see the opinions of others as external noise rather than internal truth. This shift in perspective is profound. You no longer react immediately, you no longer feel compelled to defend yourself, and you no longer give power to someone else over your emotional state. The next step in detachment is the conscious practice of self-validation. If you rely on others to tell you who you are, what you are worth, or whether you are good enough, you have handed over control of your emotions to someone else. Instead, begin affirming your own value, capabilities, and identity internally. When someone offers criticism, rather than letting it sting, you can pause and remind yourself, I know my worth. I know my abilities. Their opinion is just one perspective, not a verdict. This doesn't mean ignoring useful feedback. It means filtering it through the lens of your own values and judgment. You choose which opinions are relevant and which are irrelevant. Another critical element is understanding that the world is full of noise. People will always have opinions. They will always judge, criticize, or attempt to influence your decisions. It is impossible to live a life completely free from the opinions of others, but it is entirely possible to choose which opinions you allow to penetrate your inner world. Imagine your mind as a fortress with gates. Not every visitor is allowed in. Only the opinions, advice, or criticism that are aligned with your values and goals enter. The rest are seen, acknowledged, and immediately released. This mental exercise trains your brain to stay unshakable, even in the face of harsh or unexpected judgment. Detachment also involves emotional neutrality. When someone insults you, criticizes you, or behaves in a way that might normally provoke you, your goal is to observe the situation without letting it spark an emotional reaction. This does not mean being cold or indifferent. It means remaining grounded, calm, and composed. You respond not from a place of reactivity, but from a place of conscious choice. This emotional neutrality is built over time through practice, reflection, and repetition. Each instance where you maintain calm despite provocation strengthens the neural pathways associated with resilience and self-possession. Mindfulness and meditation are invaluable tools in this process. These practices teach you to observe your thoughts and feelings without becoming entangled in them. When someone offers an opinion that could trigger anger, hurt, or frustration, mindfulness allows you to step back mentally and say, this is their perspective, not my reality. You train your mind to witness thoughts as transient events rather than directives that must control your emotions. With continued practice, detachment becomes your default mode rather than a forced effort. Language again plays a crucial role in this internal work. The words you tell yourself shape how you respond. Replace statements like, they are judging me, or they think I'm inadequate, with, this is just their opinion. I decide what matters. The repetition of this language in your internal dialogue gradually conditions your mind to reject external influence over your self-perception. Over time, this becomes instinctive. You no longer need to consciously remind yourself because your mind automatically filters opinions and judgments. Detaching from others' opinions also requires clarity about your own values, priorities, and purpose. The more you know what you stand for and where you are going, the less room there is for someone else's perspective to derail you. When your internal compass is strong, external noise becomes irrelevant. People may try to pull you in every direction with criticism, doubt, or persuasion, but if you are clear about your path, nothing can sway you. You maintain focus, confidence, and composure, knowing that your life is yours to live according to your principles, not someone else's whims. Equally important is learning to let go of the need for approval. Much of the irritation and anger people feel stems from the desire to be understood, validated, or accepted. But the reality is that you cannot control what others think, and chasing approval guarantees disappointment. The moment you release the need for validation, you experience freedom. You no longer anticipate criticism with anxiety or crave praise with desperation. You simply exist, acting in alignment with your own values, free from the emotional highs and lows dictated by others. Detachment is also reinforced by surrounding yourself with the right influences. People who constantly judge, criticize, or manipulate can make it much harder to maintain emotional independence. Seek relationships, communities, and mentors that support autonomy, respect boundaries, and encourage self-sovereignty. While complete detachment does not require isolation, consciously choosing your social environment makes the process much easier and more sustainable. Finally, detachment is a practice, not a one-time achievement. There will be moments when someone's words sting, when criticism feels sharp, or when you are tempted to react emotionally. The key is to recognize these moments as opportunities to reinforce your detachment skills. Each time you choose calm, each time you filter opinions through your internal compass, each time you refuse to hand over your emotional power, you strengthen your immunity to the influence of others. Over time, you reach a state where people's opinions become background noise, never able to disturb your focus, your energy, or your peace. Pause before responding. This principle is deceptively simple, yet it holds the key to mastering your emotions and ensuring that no one can provoke you into anger or frustration. Most people react instantly, letting every word, action, or perceived slight dictate their response. This immediate reaction is often fueled by habit, ego, or the desire to defend oneself. But the truth is, reaction without thought is the fastest path to being controlled by someone else. When you pause, even for a fraction of a second, you create a space, a mental gap between stimulus and response. In that space lies your true power, the ability to choose how you will respond rather than being hijacked by raw emotion. The first step in developing this pause is awareness. You must recognize the triggers that usually provoke you. Maybe it's someone criticizing you unfairly, someone interrupting you, or someone behaving in a way that goes against your expectations. When you become conscious of these triggers, you begin to anticipate them. Anticipation does not mean fear or anxiety, it means readiness. You know that when this type of situation arises, your first instinct will likely be to react. And the moment you notice that instinct, you have already started the pause. Breathing is a powerful tool in this process. When faced with a provoking situation, take a slow, deliberate breath. Focus on the inhale and exhale. This simple action automatically interrupts the automatic fight or flight response that often fuels immediate anger. It signals to your mind and body that you are in control, that you are choosing calm over reaction. Breathing becomes a bridge from impulsive emotional response to deliberate, conscious choice. Pausing also allows perspective to enter the equation. When you react instantly, you see only what is in front of you, the insult, the criticism, the annoyance. But when you pause, you can step back and ask critical questions. What is really happening here? Is this person trying to harm me, or are they projecting their own issues? Will this matter tomorrow, next week, or next year? These questions create distance between your ego and the stimulus. They transform potential conflict into observation, and observation into clarity. The pause is also a shield against escalation. Most arguments and conflicts spiral out of control because both parties respond immediately, fueled by emotion rather than thought. By pausing, you break the chain reaction. You refuse to contribute to the cycle of anger. Instead, you respond with intention, with strategy, or sometimes with silence, which can be more powerful than any verbal retort. Silence in the right moment signals control, maturity, and emotional dominance without aggression. Another critical aspect of pausing is the cultivation of patience. Patience is not passive. It is an active practice of restraint. When someone provokes you, your mind may scream for instant retaliation, instant correction, instant validation. The pause trains your mind to delay gratification, to refuse the immediate release of emotion in favor of a more powerful, controlled response. Over time, patience becomes a habit. It strengthens your mental muscles and makes you virtually unshakable in the face of provocation. Mental rehearsal enhances the power of the pause. Imagine scenarios where you are normally provoked. Visualize yourself pausing before responding. See yourself taking a breath, assessing the situation, and choosing a calm, composed response. Rehearse this over and over in your mind. The brain cannot distinguish between vivid imagination and reality when it comes to neural training. By rehearsing the pause and deliberate response, you are wiring your brain to behave in this way automatically when the real situation occurs. Pausing also allows for strategic thinking. Often, the best response is not the immediate one. When you take a moment, you can consider the long-term impact of your reaction. Will responding in anger solve the problem, or will it create more tension? Will reacting defensively improve your situation, or will it reinforce someone else's power over you? By choosing when and how to respond, you regain control of the narrative, the interaction, and ultimately, your emotions. It is also important to combine the pause with internal dialogue. While you pause, speak to yourself silently. Remind yourself, I am in control. I will not be provoked. I will choose the response that serves me best. These internal affirmations reinforce the pause, ensuring that it is not just a physical act, but a mental and emotional strategy. Over time, this internal dialogue becomes automatic, making your reactions deliberate by default. Pausing is strengthened by humility. Often, instant reactions are fueled by ego, the need to be right, to prove oneself, or to dominate a situation. By cultivating humility, you detach from the necessity of winning every argument or asserting yourself in every situation. You recognize that not every battle is yours to fight, that sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. This mindset transforms the pause from a simple technique into a lifestyle of emotional sovereignty. Furthermore, the pause is an act of self-respect. When you respond impulsively, you allow someone else to dictate your emotional state. When you pause, you assert your authority over your own mind and heart. You are telling yourself and the world that your peace, your clarity, and your composure are not negotiable. This subtle act of self-discipline builds confidence and creates an aura of unshakable presence that others unconsciously recognize. Finally, the pause is a continuous practice, not a one-time effort. You will encounter moments where the impulse to react is strong, where anger or frustration threatens to take over. Each time you pause, you reinforce your ability to control your reactions. Each time you pause, you train your brain to respond with awareness rather than habit. And over time, pausing becomes second nature, a default mode of operating that makes you impervious to provocation and unbothered by the actions of others. Shift focus to solutions, not problems. This principle is a cornerstone of emotional resilience and mental clarity, and it is what separates those who remain calm and unbothered from those who are constantly frustrated, angry, or overwhelmed. Most people naturally fixate on problems, the injustice, the insult, the difficulty, or the mistake. They replay it in their minds, dissect every detail, and mentally argue over it endlessly. The problem becomes bigger in their minds than it actually is, and they allow it to dictate their mood, their energy, and their actions. The truth is, problems themselves are neutral. They only become destructive when your focus amplifies them. By shifting attention from the problem to potential solutions, you reclaim power, control, and composure. The first step in this shift is awareness. You must recognize when you are stuck in the trap of problem-focused thinking. Perhaps someone said something rude, betrayed a trust, or caused an inconvenience. Most people spend hours or even days ruminating on the problem, replaying it in their minds, and allowing it to trigger negative emotions. When you notice this pattern, you consciously stop and redirect your mental energy. Ask yourself, what can I do about this situation? What action or perspective will improve it? This simple reframing moves your mind from being a victim of circumstance to being an active problem solver. Another key aspect is understanding control. Many problems are outside your control, but your focus is always within your control. You cannot always stop someone from behaving badly, criticizing, or irritating you, but you can control how you respond. You can focus on strategies, solutions, or personal growth rather than on the problem itself. By directing energy toward what you can control rather than what you cannot, you neutralize the ability of the external problem to dictate your emotions. This mindset is liberating and transformative. Shifting focus also involves mental discipline. The mind naturally gravitates toward drama, conflict, and negativity because these patterns are reinforced over years of experience. To override this habit, you need deliberate practice. Each time a problem arises, force yourself to ask, what is the actionable step I can take? How can I improve this situation or learn from it? Over time, this becomes automatic. Your brain stops dwelling on the problem and instead instinctively searches for constructive solutions, keeping you calm and composed regardless of external circumstances. Visualization reinforces this approach. When faced with a challenge, imagine different ways to resolve it. Visualize yourself handling the situation with clarity, focus, and calm. See the problem diminishing as you implement solutions, rather than seeing it grow in your mind through worry or anger. By repeatedly practicing this mental rehearsal, you train your subconscious to respond with proactive thinking instead of reactive emotion. Language again plays a crucial role. The words you use internally shape your perception of the problem. Replace thoughts like, this is terrible, or I can't deal with this, with, what can I do to resolve this? Or, how can I learn from this? This subtle shift in language changes your emotional response, redirecting energy from frustration to empowerment. Every thought of solution-oriented language strengthens your resilience and diminishes the power of external circumstances to provoke you. Shifting focus to solutions also requires detachment from blame. When you dwell on who caused the problem or why it happened, your mind gets trapped in judgment, anger, and resentment. By detaching from blame, you free mental space for solutions. Focus on what actions can move the situation forward rather than who is at fault. This mindset not only preserves your peace, but also accelerates problem resolution, creating tangible results rather than endless mental turmoil. Gratitude enhances this skill. Even in challenging situations, finding small things to appreciate keeps your focus on constructive aspects of life rather than negative aspects of the problem. Perhaps a mistake reveals an opportunity to learn, perhaps a conflict teaches patience, or perhaps a challenge strengthens your resilience. By shifting focus to the positive aspects inherent in every situation, you remain grounded and unbothered. Strategic patience is another crucial element. Not every problem requires an immediate solution. Sometimes the most powerful response is to step back, gather information, and allow the situation to unfold while maintaining calm. The pause combined with solution-oriented focus ensures that your actions are deliberate and effective rather than impulsive and reactive. This creates a sense of mastery and emotional independence, making it impossible for minor provocations to disturb you. Shifting focus to solutions also strengthens confidence. When you consistently redirect attention from problems to actionable steps, you internalize the belief that you can handle challenges. This confidence reduces fear, worry, and frustration. You approach each situation with composure and assurance, knowing that your focus is on creating outcomes, not dwelling on obstacles. This mindset is magnetic, inspiring respect and subtly disarming those who attempt to provoke or manipulate you. Finally, it is essential to practice this skill consistently. Problems will always arise, but your response can become automatic. Each time you consciously shift focus from problem to solution, you reinforce a neural pathway that favors calm, rational, and empowered thinking. Over time, solution-focused thinking becomes your default mode, making it virtually impossible for anyone or anything to anger, frustrate, or bother you